households in Delhi. They provided the lists, and they also provided kerosene, they provided hockey bats, iron rods, weapons to these mobs. And these mobs, of these people, they're gunde, because they have no religion. And these people, they attacked Gurdwara, they sent Guru Granth Sahib Ji's Swarups alike. One Nahang Singh, I was reading his eyewitness account, he came back from the Punjab, he found that his wife had been raped and murdered. The Gurdwara which he was in charge of, the Guru Granth Sahib Swarup had been burnt and urinated on top of, and his daughters had been murdered as well. And this Nahang Singh, he couldn't handle it, and he went mental. And the Delhi camps, there was a camp set up for the homes which were burnt, and people were staying there. And even within these camps, the Sikhs were not given proper treatment as well. And just to say, there's also accounts of people who were within the Indian army, the Sikh soldiers. Some might say that Delhi which inne Sikh police officer, inne Sikh Sipahi hone, where were all these people? They were, again this is all government orchestrated, that they were given a holiday on that day. In the November, 1st November, they were all given holiday. Why? Because they didn't want them to be in uniform. Because when the Sikh women went to the police, say, our husbands have been dragged out their houses from their hair, their ties been put around them, being burnt alive, that help us, the police, they didn't help them. And where were the Sikhs? The Sikhs police officers were off duty. And even the only Gurdwara which actually survived the Delhi massacre was Gurdwara Bangla Sahib. Because like Sant Janai Singh Pandrawal say, tiyar raho. Stay always ready. We should all know self-defense. We should all be able to protect our homes as well. Because one day anything could happen. And only Gurdwara Bangla Sahib had the actual weapons and the man-force to defend itself when the gangs came. And the Indian soldiers who were Sikhs, I was reading one account, it's actually within this book, Fighting for Faith and Nation, by Cynthia Kepley Mahmood. He said he wasn't a pro-Khalistan supporter, nor did he believe in Khalistan, nor did have he heard of Sant Janai Singh Pandrawal. He just knew him as a charismatic preacher of Davnu Taksal. He was a Jathedar of Taksal. And he said that during the Delhi genocide, it's a genocide. It was not a massacre, it's not a carnage, it's a genocide. His Sikh soldiers were being told to go to Delhi by train. It's within this book, within the Fighting for Faith and Nation. You can buy it in the normal bookstore. They were told to go to Delhi and told to go to their posts. And because he knew something was not right, he told them not to. And the Hindu officer said, no, let these Sikh soldiers go. And just because of his intuition, he didn't let them go. He saved their lives. And even Indian soldiers, I read the harrowing accounts, how Sikh soldiers who were within the trains, they were dragged. The trains were stopped by Hindu mobs. And they would go, Khoon ka badala khoon. And also they were kat kara kripan pej, they were Pakistan. That was meaning that these people are enemies. Pakistan is enemies. We send these people to the enemy land. They're not welcome here. And these Sikh soldiers, he was in one of the compartments. The Hindus around him, they tried to save him. But the gangs came and they grabbed him out and they killed him. There were many harrowing accounts. And just to end with, when I went to India, Punjab, my cousin told me how one of his friends, his grandfather was a Nahang Singh, a warrior Singh, and he was a head Granthi of one of the local Gurdwaras in Delhi. I was going to end with this story before other speakers can speak. And a mob came to attack the Gurdwara. Within the Gurdwara were men, women taking refuge because they had realized that even the neighbors of Sikhs were, for either financial gain or settling old scores, were going to the police, going to these mobs and saying, we have Sikh neighbors, you can kill them. But there were some good neighbors as well. So many Sikh women, children are gathered in this Gurdwara. The Nahang Singh was 75 years old, and single-handedly he did Gatka with the two Sri Sahibs, with two swords. He defended the Gurdwara. But eventually the crowd of hundreds of mobs, the hundreds of mobsters there, he fell down from exhaustion. They put a tire around him and they set him alight. And because he was dead, then they actually attacked the Gurdwara and all the women and children were killed there. So this is, I can't believe how the media, whether it's in this country and abroad, how they totally, there was a blackout of this as well. And the sad thing is that we as Sikhs, we deny we've had a Holocaust. If a Jew denies Holocaust, they're not considered even a Jew. If you actually deny Holocaust in this country, it's actually a criminal offense. How the sad fact is that Gurdwaras nowadays, I've known some Gurdwaras If you mention 1984, you put up a picture of any Shahid Singhs, they'll have a fit about it. They'll say, oh, no, we'll be called terrorists. Why? Jews, if you go to their synagogues, they have a memorial in their corridors of all the Holocaust victims. However, nowadays, we look down at Shahid Singh's pictures, which is very sad, I think.
Just go to a short break. Welcome after the break. Obviously, we've spent a lot of time talking about 1984 and what happened, events after Operation Blue Star and how Delhi was actually affected. So just in a short, I'm going to let you sort of talk to us about 84 before we move on and think, where do we go from here? Should we forget what's happened? Is it time to move on? Just tell us, do you think enough is being done by the Gurdwaras, by the internet, by the media to remind people of 1984?
I believe it's very important that I just want to go back to 1984 when the massacre happened, and also in Delhi when Indira Gandhi was killed. The judiciary which we want to concentrate on is that their own guards, military guards who killed Indira Gandhi, they were hanged very soon after. It didn't take them long to do that. But if you look at, it's been 25 years and none of the culprits who massacre the Sikhs in Delhi, they haven't been brought to the book. Why?
Why sorry, I'm just going to go to Ranjit Singh on that. That's a good question. Ranjit Singh, why? Why haven't these people who were in charge at that time, when it happened in Delhi, who were in charge of the police, who were in charge of the state, and maybe some of them, so I read from journalism, that actually